Hello, today I will be doing a short presentation about the summary and speculation on what Google should do about the Pixel 5. So, what are the current rumors? The price is going to be $699 and critically it will be using a Snapdragon 765 instead of Qualcomm's flagship 865. So, what is the 765? Well, it's a mid-range SoC with a 5G modem. It's made on Samsung's 7nm, which is unusual for a mid-range part to be made on a high-end node. Also, it's the second highest Qualcomm SoC beneath the 865. So, why choose the 765? Well, number one, the 865 is very expensive. And this is a lot to do with the external 5G modem that Qualcomm have forced on everyone. It's rumored to be about $125. Meanwhile, the 765 is only $40. And while this information is rumor, the 765 has appeared in phones under $300. Meanwhile, every 865 phone is considerably more expensive than its 855 predecessor. So, again, why choose the 765? Carriers will want 5G phones. The Pixel 5, which its launch schedule will be released for the majority of 2021, and also Google has only worked with Qualcomm for its SoCs, so they will have more experience developing with Qualcomm. Also, Qualcomm's patents in the United States means that if they use anyone else's SoC, they will run into a lot of penalties. Also, again, it's much cheaper than the 865. Another interesting point is that SoCs are fast enough already that people really won't notice the difference in day-to-day use. Anymore is just really diminishing returns. Now, one statement that we have to make on price is that if it did have an 865, the Pixel 5 would be at least over $800. After all, there is a considerable difference in the price of the SoC. There's the extra engineering costs that were required for an external modem, and also the margin adjustment. After all, if the bill of materials for a phone was $400, but with a 50% margin, it would be $600. But if the bill of materials is now $480 with the same margin, it's now $720, despite only being an $80 difference in bill of materials. So, if the Pixel 5 is a $699 phone with a 765, then pretty much everything else must be of a flagship grade. So before we talk about what I think the Pixel 5 should do, we should compare it with other high-end phones with a 765. And for this comparison, we'll be using companies that don't have razor-thin margins. So we're ignoring companies like Xiaomi, Realme, and Realme. So our competitors will be the Oppo Find X2 Neo, the Motorola Edge, and LG's Velvet. As you can see, these phones range from $600 to $700. They have between 4 and 12 gigs of RAM. They also have either 128 gigs of storage with an SD card or 256 gigs. They all have 6+ inch 1080p plus displays with OLED screens, and the Find X2 Neo and the Edge both have 90Hz screens. For cameras, they all have high megapixel and very large sensors. They also have a wide and telephoto lens, which with the Find X2 Neo and the Edge both having extras. Batteries, they all have over 4,000 milliamps. They all have some form of fast charging. The LG does have wireless charging, and the Edge and the Velvet both have a headphone jack. So, with the need for flagship grade parts and taking competitors into account, what should I think? What do I think should the Pixel 5 do? Number one, it should have 8 gigs of RAM. Now, the Pixel 4 seemingly didn't have any issues with its RAM management. However, for the future, you always want more. Also, the current rumor is that the Pixel 4a will have 6 gigs of RAM, so the Pixel 5, being the more expensive phone, should have more. Now for storage, I've gone with a minimum of 128 gigs of storage. I think that 64 gigs for the price they charge is unacceptable, and all of the competitors offer more. Also, they should bring back the free cloud photo storage in full resolution. It was one of the biggest advantages of previous Pixels, and I don't really know why they removed that. Number 2, it should have a 6+ inch display, OLED, a high refresh rate, and a 1080p plus display. Do not bother with curved screens. They're not really used well in Android, and quite frankly, they incur such a large cost increase that it's just not worth it. Now, one of the biggest draws to the Pixel 5 is the camera. And for the main, I've actually gone with a specific sensor, and I'll explain why. But first, software is no longer capable of bringing small sensors to the forefront anymore. And if you look at any recent night mode comparison, the Pixel 5 is near the bottom of the pack. Even the P40 Pro can beat it in night mode without even using the night mode. Now, Google has no experience with pixel binning, so a low megapixel count sensor will have to be used. They only use Sony sensors to my knowledge, so I've gone with the IMX5557. And currently this sensor is used in the S20 and the Xperia 1 Mark II. Just as a point of reference, this is the current type of sensor that the Pixel 4 uses, and this is the sensor that I've proposed. You can see the massive P40 Pro and S20 Ultra, and you can see how much of a disadvantage the Pixel has been used on. The Pixel 5 should also have a telephoto and ultra-wide. The lack of an ultra-wide was actually a big criticism of the Pixel 4. Also, they should probably introduce a dedicated macro mode. They should upgrade the Pixel neural core, because at the end of the day, this is a weaker SoC with a weaker ISP. Also, again, this SoC is not capable of 4K 60, so it will have to endure another year of poor video criticism. It should have a larger than 4000 mAh battery. Poor battery life was a major criticism of the Pixel 4, to the point where even the Pixel hardware boss was very unhappy. Should have fast charging and wireless charging as well. Now, what should the Pixel 5 do in terms of miscellaneous stuff? Well, I think they should bring back the Panda Pixel 2 XL. It was one of the best Pixel designs they had, but they should really keep the design language that they had, which is that sort of fun designs that they have. Now, reportedly, Solar is gone. I'm not really sure if this means that Face Unlock will work. However, I do think that they should bring back the rear fingerprint sensor. It was functionally a lot more useful, and quite frankly, with everyone wearing masks these days, a Face Unlock sensor isn't that useful. Also, they should bring back the dual speakers of the Pixel 2 and 3. And also, one of the big criticisms I have is that they launch phones extremely late into the SoC cycle. So they'll launch a phone in October when the successor to that SoC is launched, like announced in December, which means that it's replaced in 3 months, and that's really unacceptable, especially if they start using flagship SoCs again. So, what do you think that the Pixel 5 should do? This is the end of this presentation, and thanks for watching.